Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we continue on with, I'm always going to mispronounce this. One of these days, I actually need to look this up. So this is Kathryn Lasky's The Guardians of the Ga'Hoole. This is the First Collier. This is book 9, I believe. Yes, this is book 9. So, if you have not either read this story, this book series, or looked at my previous reviews, stop now and go back. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. This is similar to a lot of book series. They build upon each other, so this will not make sense. At least not most of it. So this is the first of 3 books she has where she goes back and covers some of the history of the great tree and how it came to be, particularly the ember. So the book starts off in the present time where Soren and his nephew, Corin, are basically Elzebub, who was Soren's teacher, is dying, and he says, go look at these histories, as he dies. So this is the first of the stories that they read, and it tells of the kingdoms, particularly in the far north, and of this owl who can see visions in the fire. So he sees visions in the flame. This is before the Guardian's tree exists. This is pre-times. This is before the first king of the whole. So he is essentially a steward to a royal couple, the king and queen. But however, he starts going into the great beyond and starts studying fire and volcanoes, becomes friends with a dire wolf, and actually gets the ember, basically, this piece of highly important coal, essentially, that continues to burn. And he's locked at one point in time in seeing visions. He literally sees the destruction of his king, and he can't seem to basically unlock it. And somebody comes to visit him, trying to summon him back, because he sees this in his visions, and he doesn't go and help it, and knows that there's war going on. He's snapped out of it. The dire wolf says, you need to return that thing. It's too strong for you. So he does that. He goes back, and he's found out that he's been given a message from his king, and his king is possibly going to die, which he does, but his mate, the queen, has laid an egg, and they need to protect the egg, and he goes and finds her. He realizes that the egg is special. There's something important. So he goes in search of her. She's actually gone to these nuns that unfortunately have been taken over by these hags fiends. They entranced them and basically put them to sleep. The queen and her guardian are able to get away. Eventually, the First Collier, his name is actually our main character because he's the one who's writing this down, and Grank. Grank is the name of our owl here. So he's the first Collier, so to speak. He's the one who learns to make fire and work with fire. So he eventually finds the queen, and they realize, okay, they're going to chase you. Give me the egg. We know how important this egg is. Give me the egg. I will go hatch it. I will go hide it, and I will go hatch it. And she runs off, pretends to have it. And so they're chasing her. They've been betrayed by people who had been loyal to them, and so they're being chased. He gets away with the egg and gets to what will eventually become the great tree. And then he starts messing around with fire. And he's heating up this egg, and then this other great horned owl shows up. So, and I believe these are barn owls. And this great horned owl named Theo shows up. He's like, teach me. And he bugs Grank until he teaches him how to use the flames and how to use fire. And eventually, Theo becomes the first smith and creates the first metal battle claws. Now, he's what in human terms would call a pacifist. he does not support fighting. So he doesn't want anything to do with these things that Gak has him create. But he has to go get more coal. And so he flies off. Gak insists he wear these battle claws. And he's attacked and chased, and he refuses to give his name. He irritates these other whales, and he does actually attack one of them because they're attacking him. He defends himself. He comes back, he's pissed off. He's like, I don't want to kill people. I'm a pacifist, essentially. And he becomes irritated, and Gak says, yeah, I know it sucks, but this egg here needs protecting, because you can look at it and realize that this was the heir to the throne, and these Hags fiends want it, and this other lord wants it so they can control it, and we have to protect it, essentially. There is something very, very special to this chick that's going to come out of this egg. It's going to be very, very special. So, I do believe, does the end of the, does it hatch at the end here? I started reading. Sort of, yeah. The very end it hatches. So in the meantime, Mom gets away eventually. She interacts, her and her maid interact with a polar bear who's pregnant, who doesn't eat them. Doesn't eat them. It's an important thing, particularly in this series, because the wolves don't eat the owls either. And they befriend this polar bear. And then her mate, her basically lady in waiting in human terms, goes out to hunt lemmings and is murdered by hag spells. And basically the polar bear decides to take care of, because the queen has been injured. She's also, I believe, molting. So she's getting new feathers. So she's kind of essentially hiding. She can't go out and hunt right now. So the polar bear takes care of her for a while and then leaves her a pile of fish because she's going to go give birth. And she eventually comes back. It's like, yeah, I had 3. One of them died. This is normal. I left the other 2 around the other one's body. Yes. So not for the faint of heart here. And of course, the queen is now being kind of harassed by this lord who somehow found her. Along with a hag spell, and they think she has the egg. And she has to convince them she has the egg until the very end, when she can feel that it's hatching. So it's far off, in the south, in this tree, hatching. So, actually, I don't believe they're barn owls. They may be snowy owls. Double check at the end of this book. Normally, it lists. So, let's see. Find out. No. Let's see. Here it is. No, so she's a spotted owl, I believe. Yeah, she's a spotted owl. So her mate would have been a spotted owl as well. So these are spotted owls. Lord Aaron, who is also another spotted owl. So they're spotted owls, not barn owls. So, and then Theo, of course, is a great horned owl. So they're spotted owls. I was wrong there. So essentially, at the very end of the book, she feels her egg hatching, and they realize she doesn't have the egg. And that's how it ends. And you go back to the present, and Corin reveals to Soren's, like, you realize why on earth I couldn't let my mother go anywhere near that coal. And she's like, you haven't realized it. She's a hag's fiend. She's a hag's fiend. So this would basically bring it to power. So that's what he believes his mother, Nira, was. That she's not an actual owl. She's one of these demon owls. These hag's fiends. So that is the end of this book. So like I said, that is the first of the 3 stories. The next one, I'll cover this one next. This is The Coming of the Whole. So this is the next book I'm covering. The other one's going to be in ebook form. Unfortunately, as I think I mentioned in another video, these books are no longer available in print. So you can't get them brand new in print. You can probably find them used. They're only available in ebook form now. So, yeah. So you have The Coming of the Whole and To Be King. Those are the 3 where they go back in time and hear these legends. And then, so you get to from book 9 through 11. And then you jump back into the beginning. And this book series ends with 15, which is the War of the Ember. So I will cover the next 3. In fact, I will cover all of them. So coming up next is the King of the Coming of the Whole. And again, the next book after that will be ebook. There's going to be a couple, I think at least 1 or 2 more that are going to be in ebook form. So just because that's the only, my library doesn't, these copies are going to eventually fall apart. So this is probably a newer print copy before they went out, as opposed to the Coming of the Whole, which is actually falling apart. So, so that is the end of this video. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. And I'm covering all of these books. I've covered Tamora Pierce. I've covered the Princess Diaries in the past. I've covered her series-wise. I did a horror series, which is not normal for me. I'm not a horror fan. That's the Joseph Delaney's The Last Apprentice series. I also covered John Flanagan's The Ranger's Apprentice series, as well as I've covered a couple of Tamora Pierce book series as well. And I cover a wide variety of other books. Children's books, teen books, great wide variety. I also do films. Sometimes they're book related, sometimes they're educational, sometimes they're just fun. And then as times come on, by the time you guys see this, it'll be 2023. I'm filming this in January of 2022. Just to know the timing of when I'm filming these. So it's going to be, yeah, it's the 18th of January of 2022. So by the time you guys see this, my daughter will be moving into 4. So we'll be adding more homeschooling stuff, secular homeschooling stuff as she gets older, which is hard for me to think about because, again, she's, as of this video, just almost 2.5. I'll also be doing some games. I have I should have covered at least 1 board game this year already, as well as a variety of other things. So be sure to check out the channel, like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.